Welcome to the Made in Monroe podcast. I am so excited about our guest today and who we have here to visit with us for a little bit today. I really do believe that our community is better because he is in it, and I cannot wait for you to hear his story. So, Mr. Stewart, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kobe.
I would like for you to tell us a little bit. I know that you're not from Monroe, and
Right.
So I want you to tell me, how did you end up in Monroe?
Well, I ended up in Monroe. I grew up in a little small town about 60 miles north of Baton Rouge on the Mississippi River. Went to Northwestern, then lived in Shreveport for 10 years working for KPMG, the public accounting firm. And we picked up Century Telephone Enterprises as an audit client in 1977. And I was the first audit senior on the engagement. I made manager the next year and went off and worked on banks and savings and loans, mortgage companies, and oil and gas companies. And then I was in bed watching the 10 o'clock news one night in Shreveport, and that's when the phone was by your bed and it had a card attached to it. Wow. And I get a call, and it's Glenn Post on the other end, and he says, "Hey, Stewart, you may not remember me, but I remember you from the first year you were out here 5 years ago, and I need some help. Would you come talk with us?" So that's how I ended up over here. I came over, talked with Glenn, and by then Bruce Hanks and David Cole were both over here, and talked to Mr. Williams and Clark Jr. and decided ultimately to come over as assistant controller in 1983.
Wow, and the rest is just really kind of history from there, right?
The rest is history from there. We had a great run and a great time and a lot of good people and very little turnover. Monroe's a nice place to grow a business and have a family.
So kind of tell me about your career at CenturyLink, because I think that's where people know you most from, is your time at CenturyLink, and you really are responsible in a lot of ways for growing CenturyLink to what it became.
Well, I was there for 34 years. I was assistant controller and then controller, and then in 1989 they made me chief financial officer. So I was chief financial officer for 28 years. Before I retired in 2017. At the time I retired, I was the second longest serving chief financial officer in the S&P 500. A guy at Raymond James had me beat by 6 months. So
I guess we'll let him beat you, right?
Yeah.
If somebody's going to beat you, that's an okay one.
That's fine. But we had we were a real good team, and it was a team effort. It's not. It wasn't just me, it wasn't just Glenn, it wasn't just any one other person. It was the team that was able to put things together and grow the company. One of the special ingredients I think that we had was because of the people we were able to attract and not have much turnover, we developed a real core competency in our IT group in terms of how to bring new companies in, acquire companies, take all of their financial systems and integrate them with ours, their billing systems integrate them with ours, and it all be seamless to the customer. So I think that was a real big benefit that we had by being in Monroe.
Well, I think with your career path and everything that you've done, you really could be anywhere doing what you're doing and what you have, with what you have accomplished and what you've gone on to accomplish even since then. And so how was business different? I know you spent a lot of time in New York with CenturyLink. So how was business different there than it is here? And what is the benefit to having a company here in Monroe as opposed to a big metroplex like that?
You can be 10 minutes from the office instead of an hour and a half train ride.
Right.
No, I have friends that commute into the city and Dallas as well, and Houston. Just major metropolitan areas, transportation is a problem, and you miss a lot of good family time by being on a train or in a car or whatever, trying to get to and from work.
So that kind of leads me into my next question. I think I just said that you could be anywhere in the country doing what you're doing. Why did you choose to stay in Monroe and raise your family and raise kids here and plant roots here? Well,
number one, that's where my job was, and we were all working from the office. We weren't working from home.
Right.
So, but again, it was a good place to raise children, a safe place, I believe, to raise a family, and a good environment. And Monroe has a lot to offer. We have a number of good restaurants. We have all sorts of sports activities around at ULM and at Tech and Grambling. We have a lot of good fishing and hunting and outdoor activities. So it's just generally a good place to be. And again, not all the congestion that you would have somewhere else.
So you mentioned that in 2017 you retired from CenturyLink. What did you see yourself doing after that?
I wasn't really sure. I knew I didn't want to stay at home. I was 65 at the time, so but your dad gave me an office here, and he said, "Don't need to work with me. You don't need to work for me." He said, "I just want you to have a place to go." So I didn't do anything for the next month or two, but early 2018, I started showing up, and Nan Cummins, the chief operating officer, she really doesn't have a financial background. So she started giving me financial statements of hotels to look at, just to comment on. And I started doing that pretty much full time. And then your dad came in and brought Graham one day and said, "I'm going to give him to you. I want you to train him." So I had Graham. So then fast forward to a month before COVID, and the current CFO here had left. And your dad called me up here one Saturday, and he said, "All right, you need to take that job." He said, "You've been working here for several years. You're here pretty much full time. You hadn't let me pay you anything, and you're really helping us out from a process standpoint and a training standpoint." And I said, "You don't want me to do that. I don't want to do that. You need to find somebody else." And he said, "All right, well, think about it over the weekend, but if you don't do it, I'm going to take your office away from you and send you home." So I told him I would. I came back in Monday, and I told him, I said, "Look, I'll do it as long as two things are in place. Number one, I still have my health, and am good from a health standpoint. But the second thing I said is it never can be like coming to work, because I've never had a job where it really felt like coming to work every day, and it's been that way. It's been that good, and I've enjoyed it. I enjoy being around a lot of young people, and it's just been a very good environment for me to be in. Okay. More like CenturyTel or Century Telephone Enterprises in the early days,
right?
Yeah, from a culture standpoint.
Yeah. You have to watch those Weavers. You should have asked me about that. That's not the first person he's done that to. He'll give you an office and tell you that he's just going to let you office out of here, and then you end up working for him.
Yeah.
You and Stephen Harrison both.
Both, yeah.
Right? And you say you're retired, and you're not retired for long.
No, not for long.
Well, so now having worked with CenturyLink here and now Intermountain in the area, and both companies being based here, you've kind of given us an explanation as to why you kept your career here and as to why you raised a family here. What do you think Monroe's biggest assets are?
I think really the environment again, just the lack of density that we have in the area, and the congestion that creates, the people in the area, the fact that we have 3 universities right within 30 miles that put out a number of really good graduates. You can find good talent here. You really can. And my experience at CenturyLink was we moved a number of people here from other places throughout the country, Kansas City, Wisconsin, Michigan, and a number of them, even after they retired, they stayed in the area because they grew to like the area. Right. I mean, I saw a gentleman last night that used to be on our management team, and he's retired now, and he wasn't from here, but he came here after the Embark acquisition, and he has stayed because he and his wife like the area and like the community. So, and he's a golfer, and he could call his friends up in Overland Park, Kansas, and say, "Hey, it's January and I'm playing golf in Monroe, Louisiana."
Bragging rights.
So, bragging rights, yeah.
What would you say to young people? I know there's such an allure out there in big cities, and for young people from here, there's such a draw to go out and to get out and to see what else is out there and to kind of get away from here. How do we retain young talent here in Monroe?
So I think that is just the way young people feel sometimes, that they have to get out maybe on their own and go to another city. Some of the better employees we got were the ones that want to come home. Right. because after they stay out and they work in a Dallas or a Houston or Chicago or New York, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, a lot of them are ready to come back home. Mm-hmm. A lot of them still have family here, and you really can retain people who want to come back to the community, who grew up here but left on a temporary basis to pursue a career outside of this area. Mm-hmm. But the other thing we can do, I think, to the young people that just want to stay here and not go out and try to find a job or a career somewhere else, is we can really help them by really having some activities geared towards your young adults in Monroe, and hopefully the chamber can work through some of that in terms of providing more activities for young folks around here.
Yeah, that's exactly the feedback that we're looking for. One of the other things I want to ask is, where do you see Monroe in 10 years?
So I think we're going through a transition now with Lumen, mm-hmm. employees working from home, and a number of them transitioning away from here, really. But we've got a lot of opportunities, I believe, with the university here, with the medical school here, with the pharmacy school, and the research and development that hopefully can be done with that. And I really believe the CenturyLink building that was given to ULM can really be the impetus for growth in our area. I think I told Ron Berry, I said, the use of that facility and the benefit of that facility to the community is only limited by the imagination of the people that are going to decide what goes there. I said, you can do a culinary school out there if you want to, with a full kitchen and area. There's a data center area. There's a place for a call center. Why don't we talk to Energy, get them to move some New Orleans folks up here and set up a satellite office here, so next time a Hurricane Katrina comes through New Orleans, they don't move everybody to Jackson, Mississippi. They come right here to Monroe, where they've got a home. What can we do with the construction management program out there with all those facilities? We can give hands-on experience to folks in construction management at ULM in complicated HVAC systems, electrical systems, plumbing systems. So there's just numerous opportunities and ways, to me, that facility can be used to create economic development for our area.
Well, this community has been so good to us. I think you would say the same thing. It's been good to you and your family. It's been good to my family and I. And what are some ways that we can give back to the community that has given so much to us?
To me, just get involved. Give up some of your time, mm-hmm. and some of your money, and let's get behind the folks in Monroe that really want to see progressive growth here in the city, and I think we can do it over time. So in 10 years, I think the city will be growing again as opposed to shrinking, and I believe that we'll have other business opportunities in town that either have located here as a result of needing space in a facility like the CenturyLink facility, or being associated with the medical school of the university or some of the other businesses around town. So I think there's good growth coming.
Well, I'm excited about what's ahead, Stewart. I thank you so much just for joining us today. Thank you for sitting down with us. You're so full of wisdom, and I just think you're such an asset to have in our community, and I'm grateful that I get to work with you.
Well, thank you, and I'm grateful I get to work with you and your family as well.
Well, thank you.